Well, today it's kind of a rainy, cruddy day outside, so I figured I'd continue on Project Magnum here. This is a 2001 Polaris Magnum 325 four-wheel drive. These are a pretty good machine. They're an automatic with a high-low reverse. A push-button switch, four-wheel drive, or actually this one's got a slide switch. But you can select four-wheel drive or two-wheel drive. So that's what this front shaft here is for. This is referred to as a prop shaft, or the front drive shaft. The way these are, I needed to change the U-joints in it. Got the engine out. I got to overhaul the engine due to poor maintenance and stuff. And I was going to cover a video about that later. But anyways, once I took the engine out, I could feel a little slop in these U-joints, and I could tell that they'd never been greased, and that the slip yoke here hadn't been greased, and that's going to be what the majority of this video is about. The way you are supposed to take these out is this front yoke up here has a roll pin right there, and you just take a drift punch and pound that roll pin through, and then this slip yoke back here is supposed to slide all the way back until you can take the front yoke off, and then you're supposed to be able to slide this off. Well, that's not the way this one worked. Like I said, they'd kind of neglected some maintenance on this thing, and the slip yoke was completely crusted, rusted, stuck, had never been greased. So anyways, I beat on it, and WD-40, PB blaster, everything I could do to try to get it to let loose. I could get it to move a little bit, but just not very far. I don't like beating on these yokes. For one, they're a cast deal, and you can break the ears off of them up there if you beat on them wrong. But for two, there's a couple things that can happen from beating back here. There's no splines exposed yet, but if you beat on this too much, you can actually mushroom this out to where when you slide it ahead, it won't slide over the splines. Another thing about beating on it right there is once you do get it started over the splines, if you miss and start beating the splines up, you won't be able to get it back on very easy. I did beat on it back there, but I didn't mess anything up. Anyways, I beat on it, it wouldn't come off, so what I had to end up doing is taking the U-joints out of it while it was in the machine, and then taking the drive shaft out, and the front slid right off after I took out the roll pin and got this U-joint out here. I had to take a puller, just a 2-jaw puller, and put on this yoke and pull it all the way off, the entire way. It came hard, clear to the end. One of the reasons that it was hung up so bad was because, like I said, it had never been greased, and it was just rusty, crusty in there. But another reason is, and this is what I wanted to make this video about, is inside of that slip yoke there's two O-rings. This O-ring right here sits at the end of the splines on the inside of the yoke, but it actually goes on the shaft. As you can see, it's completely destroyed. And this one here sits inside the yoke right there. So this is supposed to slide over that one, and it's supposed to help seal and keep water and stuff out of there. Being it had never been greased, it was just hanging up the entire way. So anyways, I finally did get it off, and then put the U-joints in, and then put it back in. A tip I can tell you about the U-joints: on the front U-joint, make sure you get the U-joint in both yokes before you insert the caps. If you put the caps on either U-joint, then you can't get the other one in. So you'll end up taking the caps back off like I did, and that's never any fun. On the rear U-joint, it will allow you to put it in the drive shaft first and then put it in the yoke. What I had to do to the yoke, because I couldn't get the yoke back on the shaft because it was just dirty, I wire brushed the shaft all off, cleaned and wire brushed on the inside of that yoke. Had to end up beating the shaft on and off there multiple times before I finally got it to where it would slide. Greased it up, and now everything works great. So essentially that's how you do the drive shaft with the engine out if you have a stuck yoke. Hope this is helpful. I've Worked on quite a few of these Polarises. We buy, sell, trade them. The ones we keep for ourselves are usually all Polarises, minus a couple of two-stroke machines. But on these Polarises, you just keep the maintenance up on them, and you don't have to worry about stuck yokes and things like that. The majority of them I see, all the problems are due to lack of maintenance. These YouTube videos are very helpful. That's why I decided I'd start making a couple on things that I hadn't seen people cover on there. As helpful as they are, I still recommend anybody doing any significant amount of work, get your book. This is a Haynes book, but they still don't cover everything, but they cover most stuff. And between a book and YouTube, I think a person can get it figured out. Have a good day.